Senator Sanders, we're delighted to have you here. I'm going to briefly introduce the panel, and then LaShante Thompson, who's our airport lead organizer, is going to take over and is going to MC to get some comments from you after you've heard from our members. So we've got Tamika Shivers here, who's a barista at Starbucks. Uh-huh. We thought you might like to start off with her. We certainly would. Tina Graham is a room attendant at the Palmer House Hotel. Anna Sanchez is a room attendant at the Marriott Medical District. And Alex Williams is a cook here at Host who's been fighting to get a pension for a long time. So we're going to talk about that. And with no further ado, LaShante.
Welcome, Senator Sanders. We're excited to have you here with us today, so thank you for that. So we're going to be opening it up for comments from our beautiful panel here in front of us, and then we'll open it up for you to respond to any of the things that they would like, that you would like to respond to from our panel. We know that you've been fighting for working class people all over the country for many and many of years. We're excited to have you here, and this is a room full of union members. And so we look forward to continuing the fight alongside of you. Without further ado, I would like to call on Tamika Shivers, who's an airport barista.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Tamika Shivers. I've been a Starbucks barista at HMS Host and O'Hare for nearly 17 years. I wake up every day at 12:30 in the morning to work at one of the busiest Starbucks in Illinois. There are mornings where I work alone, and from the start, there's a line of 30 or more people asking, when will I open? We are so understaffed that it makes my job harder because I have to keep all the regular pots going while also taking specialty orders and food orders. Now, it's easy to imagine how being fully staffed would change things at Starbucks. Recently, because of a store closure, employees got shuffled around. We had enough staff for just 1 week. I was able to get off work on time and spend time with my family. Every week should be like that. Unfortunately, the next week, the company reopened that store and we had too much work to do again. At my company, HMS Host, fewer of us are doing more work than we did before the pandemic. Let me be clear. Though we're understaffed, we don't have a worker shortage. We have a good job shortage here in O'Hare Airport. Now let me repeat that. Let me be clear. Though we're understaffed, we don't have a worker shortage. We have a good job shortage here in O'Hare Airport. And I'm proud of how we made this job better by fighting for higher wages and free union health care, which has literally saved my life. Now, we need a pension and enough staff to make sure these jobs are good and substantial. Thank you.
Senator Sanders. Oh, no, I just wanted to see if you had a response or you wanted to say anything.
No, why don't we hear from all of them and then we can, how's that, is that all right?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Next, I would like to introduce Tina Graham. Tina Graham is a room attendant at the Palmer House Hilton Hotel in downtown Chicago. Tina.
Thank you. I missed it. During the pandemic, many hotels, including mine, stopped providing daily room cleaning to guests unless the guest specified requested. As a result, the housekeeping workforce in the hotel industry has been cut drastically. Rooms are dirtier when we clean them, since there are being less cleaned less often. The work is heavier and harder than it used to be, and fewer housekeepers and housemen are employed. Senator Sanders, for the sake of the hotel and housekeepers, will you call the hotel companies to reinstate automatic daily room cleaning?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Next, Next, we have Ana Sanchez. She works at the Marriott Medical District.
Hola a todos. En el hotel donde trabajo ganamos el sindicato a través de una elección de la Junta Nacional de Relaciones Laborales hace 5 años. Pero la empresa se estancó y apeló durante años. Finalmente, después de 4 años y medio, la empresa reconoció a nuestro sindicato y negoció un contrato con nosotros. ¿Qué se puede hacer para que el proceso de ganar un sindicato y lograr un primer contrato sea más justo y rápido? Gracias.
Senator Sanders, I'm going to translate for Ana.
Okay.
So Ana Sanchez says at the hotel where she works, they won the union through a National Labor Relation Board election 5 years ago. But the company stalled and appealed for years. Finally, after 4.5 years, the company recognized the union and they were able to achieve a first contract. What can be done to make the process of winning a union and achieving a first contract faster and fairer?
Thank you, Ana. And last but not least, we have Alex Williams, who is a executive board member and a cook here at HMS Host Airport.
Hi, my name is Alexander Williams. I work at HMS Host, and I've been in the airport for the last 13 years. We are currently in a contract fight. Our fight is mainly surrounding a pension for my members and my team can retire with dignity. It's important to me because I see the effects on a daily basis of what it looks like when you don't have a pension. My mother, Betty Drain, she worked at Sears Robotic for over 15 years. And the only thing she had to survive on was a 401k plan. And upon her retirement, she exhausted through that account in less than a year. So, for me and my coworkers, a pension plan is the most important thing for us, and we're going to continue fighting until we get it. Thank you.
Let me thank Unite here for inviting us to be. It's a wonderful turnout, and I'm honored to be with you today. Misty here? Let me introduce Misty Rebick. Misty is my chief of staff in Washington, and before that was a labor organizer in Iowa. So. What you are trying to do is of extraordinary importance. For a start, without giving you a long speech, because I want to hear from everybody, all of you know that we live in a nation today of massive income and wealth inequality. The people on top are doing phenomenally well. Working class people are struggling, often falling further behind wages, not keeping up with inflation. People can't afford health care. They can't afford to retire. They can't afford to send their kids to college. They can't afford the high cost of housing. All right? People are struggling. So what you are doing by standing up and fighting back is of extraordinary importance and takes extraordinary courage. And I, from the bottom of my heart, I salute you and just I'm very proud to be with you today. And I'm here as the chairman of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee. I think that many people believe, with good justification, that Congress has forgotten what's going on in the lives of working class people, and I'm going to do everything I can in this committee to make sure that we stand up, take on powerful special interests, and respond to the needs of working families. That's what our job is. All right, so let me just answer some of the questions, and I'll get to all of them. And if you have questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you as well. Anna talks about winning a first contract. Right now, what goes on, the good news from my perspective and your perspective is we're seeing more and more people fighting back and trying to join unions. All right, that's what we're seeing. More people are trying to join unions than we have seen for decades. People feel in America now more positive about unions than they have for a long time. Why is that? because people are seeing with their own eyes. Their bosses make 400 times what they make. Rich are getting richer. They're struggling. They're saying we need unions, we need contracts in order to have a decent life. So that's the good news. Here's the bad news, is that these large employers now are doing everything they can to defeat union organizing efforts and doing everything they can to make it hard for unions to get a first contract. That's what's going on. Some of you may know we had your boss, Mr. Schultz, in front of our committee the other day. And it is clear to me that Starbucks, where you have some 300 shops that have voted to form a union, they have not yet negotiated a contract with one of those shops. And it is clear to me, and I think to all of you, we know what's going on. They're doing everything that they can to try to break unions. The National Labor Relations Board made that, I think, pretty abundantly clear. So to answer your question, Anna, what we are trying to do is pass what is called the PRO Act, which essentially protects the rights of workers to organize, and as part of that, to get a first contract in a timely manner. Because what many of these companies do, they have all the money, they have all the lawyers, they have all the resources. You don't have that. So they stall and stall and stall, and people quit, right? And people give up. And that's how they win. Then people, say, hey, what good did it do us? We formed the union, we're not any better off. That's what their intention is. So what this law says, if you don't sit down and negotiate a first contract in a reasonable period of time, you will be fined. If you try to force workers into back rooms for propaganda efforts, you will be fined. If you fire workers for organizing, you will be fined. If you threaten to close down your shop, you will be fined. So this is an effort to try to give workers the protection they need to organize and to negotiate decent contracts. Now, on this one, I think we have almost all Democratic support. Very, very hard to win Republican support, but we're going to do everything we can to try to get this passed. Samika, I think you talked about good job shortage. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, help me out. I think I know what you mean. What do you mean by that? Talking to the mic there.
Okay. So what I mean by a good job shortage is a good job should be only one job. Let me say that. We should not have to be working multiple jobs
You're right.
to take care of our family. We should be able to work one job. That one job should allow us to be taking care of our families and still have the time to be able to go home and enjoy our families. That's what I mean by a good job.
Okay. You're absolutely right. All right. So what I'm hearing you saying is it's not a question that there aren't enough workers out there prepared to work. It's a question these workers don't want to work for starvation wages and poor working conditions. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
All right. Well, that is the issue. That is the issue. And this is unbelievable. It really is. I don't want to throw statistics at you. Statistics are boring. But, people think we live in a rich country. And we do. We do. We live in the richest country in the history of the world. But you know what? Over 60% of people in America are living paycheck to paycheck. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
I grew up in a family, lived paycheck to paycheck, so I know a little bit about it. So the struggle that we face is, can we create an economy where, as you just said, people can work one job, spend time with their family, put money into a retirement account, have a pension, have decent health care. Is that really an impossibility? Is that utopian thinking? It is not. And that's why we need a strong union movement. And that's why what you are doing is so terribly important. Now, what are we trying to do? Well, at a government level, we're trying to make it easier for workers to form unions. That's the first thing. Second of all, I want to raise the federal minimum wage. All right? Minimum wage now, now states have done better, but you know what who knows what the federal minimum wage is right now? $7.25 an hour. I mean, that's unbelievable. And in fact, you have people all over this country working for $9, $10, $11 an hour. You think you can make it on $9, $10, $11 an hour?
No.
You can't do anything. All right. And you want to hear the irony is that many of these low-wage workers end up having to get food stamps, having to get Medicaid, which means that the taxpayers are subsidizing these companies who are not paying them a living wage. So you get hit twice. You are subsidizing these companies who make huge profits and are paying starvation wages. Exactly. Walmart's would be Walmart, owned by the wealthiest family in America. Many of their workers are on food stamps, Medicaid, et cetera, et cetera. So what do we have to do? For a start, in my view, I know some of you would go higher, but we're going to try at least, if I have anything to say about it, to raise the minimum wage in this country to $17 an hour. And I'm not here to tell you that if you live in Chicago, Illinois, you make $17 an hour, you're going to do particularly well, right? Rents are very high, right? Yeah. Okay, and so forth and so on. But your point is exactly right. What we need is not jobs. We need jobs with dignity. I'll tell you something else. Being a little bit older than some of you in this room. This is hard to believe. There was once a time in America when I was a kid, guess what? One person in the household, often the man in those days, could work 40 hours a week and earn enough money to pay the rent, to buy the food, to put your kids to school. One worker. How many people do you know have families now where you only have one person in the family working? Very few, right? All right, so that's where we are. So what we are struggling for, essentially, is an economy that works for all. What does that mean? It means living wages. It means strong unions. You know what else it means? It means that we join every other country on earth and guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right through our Medicare for all single-payer system. Now, it would think about what it would mean. I want you to just take a second and think about it. I live in Burlington, Vermont, 50 miles away from Canada. In Canada, if you got very ill and you end up in the hospital for a month, do you know what the bill is when you get out? Anyone know? Zero. Do you know how much you pay when you out of your own pocket when you go to a doctor? Nothing. All right. Do you know how much they as a nation spend per capita compared to what we spend? 1/2 of what we spend. So they spend less per person. They cover all of their people. There is no out-of-pocket expense. How do they do that? They got rid of the insurance companies, and they have a rational healthcare system devoted to providing healthcare to all people, not to making insurance companies rich. So that's what we've got to do as well. Alex, you talked about pensions. There was a time, going back again, I'm dating myself here, but if you worked and you had a union job, you know what? You had a decent pension. Talk to the older guys in the Teamsters Union and UAW, and they'll tell you that they have decent pensions. What is important about what you were doing is that historically, what we have thought in America is if you worked in a factory, let's say you're in the UAW manufactured cars, okay, or tractors or whatever, those workers had good wages and they had good pensions. If you work in the service industry, if you make beds, or if you work in a concession and you make hamburgers, whatever you do, traditionally we have said those are just low-wage jobs. What Unite here is trying to do, and I work with those guys in Las Vegas, where you have a very large chapter, is they changed the dynamic of that. And they said, it doesn't matter whether you clean toilets, whether you make a bed, whether you deliver food, you deserve a living wage. Because we all have the same needs, right? We all have to eat, we all have to pay rent, we all have to go to the doctor. And that's what you're trying to do. So the idea of bringing back the understanding that if you work for a company, not only do you need decent wages and benefits, but you also are entitled to a pension so you can retire with dignity, that is a very, very important demand, and I applaud you for making that demand. Now, I want to stay on a word. Let me ask a question to the panelists or anybody else who can help me out here. Tell me about healthcare. What kind of benefits are you getting in healthcare? I know some of you are doing all right. Some of you may not be. Tell me what you get. How much do you pay? What kind of premiums, co-payments, out of pocket? Yes, stand up, ma'am. Kimberly? Okay, yeah. You get,
Medicine is, oh, I'm sorry. I don't pay any copay because I'm a single person. If you're a family, you pay 85, it might be more. But for me, I don't pay anything, and the medication I get is free. Before I got the insurance with Unite here, through my job, one of my medications was $100 a month. And that was just ridiculous. When I got the insurance through Unite here, I pay zero. My
so when you go to
medication is
the,
free.
when you go to the doctor now, you don't have to take out your
I have
wallet?
a doctor. I have any doctor I want through my insurance. A doctor. I have a foot doctor, a pharmacist. A physician.
And you don't have to pay for it?
No.
What a huge achievement. Congratulations. That's a big deal. You're doing better than most workers in America. What an accomplishment. Congratulations. Anyone else want to talk about health care? Do I see a hand over there? Or anybody else want to talk about health care? Yeah, I see right behind you there.
Hello, everybody. I have my whole family and the insurance as Blue Cross PPO. I have my husband. My husband, he don't have insurance in his job. So if the job, they sell insurance for $500 every month. And I tell him, you know what? You have to marry with me. $15 every paycheck, and I cover my whole family and whatever money you spend in that insurance. So you buy me a car, please.
Well, that is what a good union can do. Get you married, get a car, the whole thing. Well, no, that is a huge achievement. And that is really what a strong union can do. I mean, our job is to make sure that everybody in America has that benefit. Because you all have friends and family who are struggling with the inability to pay for health care or prescription drugs. So that is a great achievement.
We've
All
got
right.
a couple of folks with questions from the floor.
Please.
How you doing, Senator Sanders? I am Demetrius Jackson. I'm with Unite Here Local 1. A while ago, I sat on a panel with the Labor Secretary, Marty Walsh, and we discussed the importance of having a defined pension plan
Yep.
for working people of America. Now, since he has stepped down, I want to talk to you about how can we make sure that Julie Sue, the Deputy Labor Secretary, is conferred as Labor Secretary. For those who don't know, she's a former civil rights attorney. She led the team of lawyers who broke up major California sweatshops that were trafficking 72 tire workers. Senator Sanders, how can we assure that Julie Sue gets the vote needed to be confirmed as Labor Secretary?
Well, that's in my committee. I think we have scheduled a vote for her in mid-April. And it's going to be a close vote. I think we'll get her out of committee, but we have some conservative Democrats who we're working on right now to make sure they vote for her. I agree with you. I think she is going to be a very, very strong and progressive labor secretary. And we're going to try to get some Republican support as well. But because she has been a strong advocate in California, many Republicans are precisely against her for that reason alone. So we're going to need your help to make sure that we have every Democrat vote for her. And if we do that, we are going to get her her job, the job that she deserves.
And one more question from an airport worker.
Nice T-shirt.
On behalf of the airport concessions workers at O'Hare, I want to thank you for coming to our forum, Senator Sanders. It's truly an honor to have you here to speak to our union members. Thank you for being a lifetime progressive, and you've always been a tireless champion for social causes, a staunch advocate for the working class. That being said, as an airport worker, I can't help to get anxious when I see all the layoffs that's happening in the airline industry. The flights are full, but thousands of employees are being laid off. My question is, what can government do to create more stability and job security for the working class people of our country?
Well, there's a lot that we can do above and beyond the airline industry. We have invested tens and tens of billions of dollars to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. Okay? What does that mean? That means in my city, if you go down the streets, you know, you could lose your car in some pothole. You have streets and roads all over this country in need of repair. We have water systems, wastewater plants, airports. We have an infrastructure that needs an enormous amount of repair. Congress, a year ago, passed the largest infrastructure bill in the history of the country. Now, I'll give you an interesting story. If you talk to my governor of Vermont, and we're a small state, we got $2 billion to rebuild our infrastructure. It's a lot of money. You know what he tells me? He says, Bernie, we don't have the workers to do the work we need. All right? So what do we have to do? What we have to do, first of all, is make sure that all of these jobs are good-paying union jobs. But second of all, we got to train young people to be able to do that work. All right? I learned this recently. I did not know it. Maybe you don't know it. Right now, if you get out of an apprenticeship program and you become a plumber or an electrician, on average, you're going to make more money than a 4-year college graduate. You know that? All right. So there's an enormous amount of work to be done in America, rebuilding our infrastructure. We want to address the crisis of climate change. All right? You know what that means? We've got to transform our energy system. That means we've got to put solar all over the place. We have to have new types of transportation, new types of agriculture. An enormous amount of work needs to be done. So right now, one of the challenges that we face is to develop the kinds of programs. If you have a kid in high school who's good with his or her hands, get them the training, give them an income while they are in school, give them the training so when they get out, they can have a good paying job. Raising the minimum wage, strengthening unions, those are all the ways that we can go forward to make sure that every person in this country earns a living wage.
I think we have time for one more question from the audience.
And it needn't be a question. If something is on your mind, just, you know, I'm here to learn. That's why I'm here. Anything on people's minds or a question or whatever? Okay. All right, listen, let me kind of go back to what I said. I want you, what you guys are doing is in a sense revolutionary. What you are saying is that workers in the service industry, which has traditionally been low wage, traditionally been without benefits, you are entitled to living wages with strong benefits. It is an incredible achievement that you have negotiated a health care contract that you have negotiated. All right, you are the envy of many other workers throughout this country. So what you are doing is enormously important, you know, and I thank you very much for what you do, and we look forward to working with you in the months and years to come. Thank you all very much.
Senator Sanders? I just want to shout out all the work. You've been such a great advocate, not only in government, but in our union, all over the country. I know recently helping to organize the cafeteria workers in the Senate and giving them support for their campaign. So I know that you're on the ground with political folks around the country, whether it's Las Vegas, Arizona, Georgia. We have people in this room who have joined that movement and been around everywhere to help elect folks, and we'll continue to do that and welcome all your support. Want to thank you for every fight that we're in, everything that you do, health, education, labor, pension. That's our love language, so thank you so much.
Thank you,
for all
Karen.
you do.
Thank you.